Throne Liberty is in a state where it's daily bleeding players, guilds are quitting, players are leaving the game. However, it still has 20,000 active player base on Steam. Now, if you just look at the Steam numbers, that actually puts Throne Liberty on the third highest MMORPG on Steam, only Lost Ark and Black Desert being higher. Of course, there's other MMOs that are higher that don't use Steam as a primary client, but it's still pretty high because you have to take into account that they still also have console player numbers where you can't see them on Steam. So it has a healthy player base, but it is bleeding players. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is not in a good state right now. And I know a lot of players that are still playing Throne Liberty and enjoying it. You guys probably watch these videos and you guys get annoyed. However, you should be happy that these videos are actually made because I don't want Throne Liberty to die. I want Throne Liberty to do good. I want Throne Liberty to thrive. I have thousands of hours in Throne Liberty. Why would I want MMORPG that I've enjoyed for so long and I made so much content on to die? That makes absolutely no sense. But I am here to give my feedback, and today I want to check out why is Throne Liberty dying video from Freshie. He made a video on it, so let's just jump into it and see what he has to say.
Throne and Liberty has had great success with the initial global launch, peaking well over 300,000 concurrent players and breaking into top 10 most played games on Steam charts at that time. But
Yes, I mean, Throne Liberty did have a really good launch. I mean, I've talked about this before. Amazon games are really good at launches of game. Now, it wasn't even close to like Lost Ark numbers or New World numbers. Maybe with PEE console, maybe, but still, it was still really good. They're really good at launches. They're really good at expansions. So again, when Throne Liberty launched, it did really good.
was this initial success masked behind the hype of having a shiny new thing? The new game in an unpopular and dying genre, an MMORPG that promised to be the lineage successor, offering seamless open world, jaw-dropping visuals, revolutionary action combat, and breaking technical limitations of a
It wasn't revolutionary action combat. Okay, combat isn't one of the strong suits, but all the other things with the game, like the stunning visuals, the open world dungeons, and a proper, well made MMORPG was the one thing that us MMO enthusiasts are looking for, right? So it was definitely like a proper MMO that we were like, we definitely have to check this out.
game engine, allowing for a seamless and uninterrupted open world large-scale PvP battles with thousands of players fighting for the throne. Was all of this just a marketing trick, or was the game actually that good? Because it worked, for a little bit at least. In this video I will talk about Throne and Liberty, the good, the bad and the ugly. Where it all went wrong, what could have been done better, and can it still be saved? Please have an open mind, sit back and enjoy the video. Also, feel free to engage with the video at any point by leaving a comment sharing your experience and thoughts about Throne and Liberty. I have started playing Throne and Liberty day one of the Korean release, experiencing all the initial bad and ugly things. Bad and ugly, but fun and engaging because it was new and different. With the global version, I have racked up close to 2,000 hours of actual play time.
That's actually more than me. I'm at, I think, at 1,500. A lot of AFK time, but still a lot of hours in there. I also played in Korea when it first launched, and I'm gonna be honest, the early game and just the leveling process and learning everything about the game and seeing the amazing visuals and the open world was really fun at the start of the game, for sure. Like, it was one of the, I think it's one of the strongest suits when it comes to MMORPGs. The starting phase, the first month, you're in like the, you know, the honeymoon period. It's so much to do, so much to learn, so much progress to do. Usually there's only a few MMOs that fail at the start of a game. If you have like time gated or level gated or stuff like that, you kind of fail the launch. But if you don't, the first month or 3 weeks of an MMORPG is probably the best thing in any game, in my opinion.
With around 500 hours on Korean servers. I managed to max out my character as much as possible. I got an affordable best in slot gear. I'm saying affordable because I didn't have to sell my kidney for some lucent. And with that I have experienced literally everything Throne Liberty has to offer. But so did you, so did everyone else. You all experienced the easy but boring and repetitive PvE content, the endless grind for progression. You all got zerged by an alliance during arc bosses, you all got rolled over during castle sieges, you all crashed, lagged out, played with negative FPS while your PC was smoking from all the heat trying to produce the next frame in a PvP slideshow. You all got cheated on, exploited on and scripted on, and that's okay. We have all
True.
been there at least once. But in grinding and playing a lot lies the big problem. And that problem is that the more you play, the more you start noticing all the issues, whether they are small and simple or major and game breaking. When you start playing a new game for the first time, it's all smoke and mirrors. You are clueless and you're having fun. But
Yeah.
after a few hundred hours, you actually start reading some of the skill descriptions and tooltips, because you want to get better, of course. And then you realize that what is written doesn't make any sense. Either the description is completely wrong, that
I mean, especially with the new masteries and the new changes, it seems like I think there was a video on it too that it was just auto translated or AI translated. It was pretty bad. So a lot of the description and stuff has been wrong many times.
numbers are wrong or the skill behaves completely different than what is written. And this starts frustrating you. But now imagine you actually find something major and game breaking, something that is exploitable. Do you keep it for yourself and abuse it? Do you privately report the exploit to Amazon, or do you share it with your friends and guildmates? Tough choices, right? But what if I tell you that there were game breaking bugs and exploits that individuals and guilds abused for months? The bugs and exploits that were also reported to Amazon developers and they never got fixed.
I mean, this is true too. I mean, not only this, like it was exploits, it was scripts. People were just abusing it. Massive guilds were abusing it. There still are till this day. And the changes and the communication from Amazon was pretty slow and pretty bad. I mean, Dimensional Trials was just, really, just really bad. All this content that people were supposed to do and grind out was just exploited.
Not until more and more players started using it and videos started popping up exposing the exploits and explaining how to replicate it. I used to make these videos, but I stopped because what's the point? There's still so many things broken and bugged that you simply can't keep track of it. That's why my current favorite Throne of Liberty content creator is Paul,
Poliniasha W, man. These videos are so funny.
who makes these exploits and bug exposing videos while also clowning AGS and their sheer incompetence in a very funny way. It's just mind-boggling how many things are still broken and how many things break after each patch. It makes you wonder how this spaghetti code is even keeping the game functional. I'm still convinced that AGS has no actual developers and it's ChatGPT coding and fixing bugs. So please
Now, while there is a lot of exploits and bugs, it is to be expected in big MMORPGs. Now, I gotta give like AGS, not AGS or NCSoft, like some credit is when you usually make massive MMOs and there's so many bugs and glitches or exploits that the game has, the games usually don't function. But they have been trying to have a functional MMORPG, but you just can't get away from these exploits. However, they could do a much better job of being more active and fixing it and punishing players, because that's one of the major things that a lot of MMOs do is they punish players, which means that if there is an exploit, players don't use it because they're afraid of getting banned or something like that. But AGS have said like it's free reign, right? When you say it's free reign, of course everybody's gonna exploit every single bug and exploit they can find because you don't get punished. Other MMOs have more exploits, have more bugs, have more glitches, but it's not used by players because they know you're gonna get a punishment for it. So overall, even though it has been really bad, it's mainly, I think, AGS's fault, not only on the coding perspective or, if they're doing AI coding, who knows, but it's more of, the repercussions of players' actions and them saying, yo, just exploit as much as you want.
please check out Paul's videos for a new batch of freshly baked bugs and exploits that you should, at your own risk, definitely abuse. The worst thing that can happen is you get banned, which will free you from this bug-infested MMORPG. But it won't happen, because remember, if Amazon doesn't care, why should you? PvE content is very easy and with time becomes very boring. The whole PvE gameplay loop is very repetitive. You log in, do your 10 daily contracts, then run 2 3-star dungeons and 1 2-star dungeon, burn tokens while waiting for the boss or dynamic event, which again the boss dies in less than 3 minutes in peace modes. Guilds actually don't do GVG because it's a waste of time, and Dominion is very unbalanced, where most of the time you'll be on the side that gets stomped, And with the current bug, you can actually enter the Dominion boss, all being on the same team without any enemies.
Another exploit, yes. While I do agree that the content is very boring, I mean, the contracts, daily contracts, is just like, why are you in the game? Daily dungeons is like, why are you in the game? The game does have some fun content, which is the solo dungeons and it is dimensional trials. However, there's no point in doing them because it is not rewarding. You run these dungeons, you do these contracts, and you get T1 gear, get T1 items. Why should people run it? Why should I waste my time doing dungeons, doing dailies when I'm getting nothing from it, right? Is I think the biggest issue because some MMOs have to have some boring daily content. I wish most of the time in Throne Liberty were spent doing the fun stuff, but most of the stuff you spend actually doing the boring grind. But not only that, it is so unrewarding. They don't give you anything for it, right? If Dimensional Trials were if you couldn't exploit it and they could give better rewards, more people were running it. I mean, I think dimensional trials were a fun thing. I love like challenging dungeons and stuff, but it has to be rewarding enough, right? Solo dungeons are fun. It has to be rewarding enough. I've done solo dungeons since the release. Never seen a Nebula item in my life from the dungeon. So anything. There's no pity system. There's nothing to feel the reward. So overall, it just becomes extremely boring.
Dynamic events are pretty much the same. When you think about it, the rewards you get at the end.
And dynamic events, don't get me started on dynamic events. I stopped doing dynamic events like 3 weeks into the game. Like dynamic events, for some, they're fun, but it's so unrewarding. Like the concept of it is nice. Like you fight against or compete against other players to get as many mobs or, to deliver as much as you can. But again, the rewards are so bad and it's so repetitive that it just get overall boring. I stopped doing that so long ago. And I just felt like it just became a big chore for me, right? When it comes to the dynamic
Of a
events.
3-star dungeon do make sense. Because why would you have a 100% guaranteed chance to drop a tier 2 gear item when the dungeon can be cleared in less than 5 minutes? And this is where the big problem lies. There are no difficult dungeons where after clearing it you would have increased chances at better loot. When we got Dimensional Trials, the only purpose was farming rooms. Sure, you can still open the chest at the end, but imagine if you completed tier 15. Wasted hours trying just so you can get some points for leaderboard, few rooms, and then you open the chest and get a tier 1 gear drop. And tier 15 is very difficult. I don't think I have seen a non-exploited tier 15 3-star dungeon clear, and we won't see it because it's a waste of time. You can get the rooms from so many other activities that you do not need to do Dimensional Trials.
Also, the thing on T15, right? I wish the problem is they nerfed many things. They nerfed Deadly Marker, right? So T15 was even harder for us with less gear than the Korean players because what they did was they were like, hey, let's add T15 but nerf the PvE DPS to make it even harder. So like you said, T15 is really, really difficult. Now I enjoy difficult content. If it was a proper leaderboard, maybe some world first titles or some speed run titles and stuff, I would participate in it. But right now doing T15 is no point. Like we have the rune chests, there's no extra reward like I mentioned earlier, and it's just a complete waste of time and it feels like so lackluster because everybody's just already exploited it too, right? And then Amazon said they're going to reset the leaderboards. That never happened. It's been 2 months. So it's like overall, I just
Most of my important rooms are all level 75 plus and I have done 0 dimensional trial runs. So why is this content not being reworked? Why is it just sitting there, dead? The easy fix would be removing the normal dungeons and only having dimensional trials. Add matchmaking to it, keep tier 1 the same difficulty as normal dungeons are now, keep the rewards percentage the same but also allow higher tiers to be more difficult with better chances at better rewards. For example, clearing tier 5 should remove tier 1 gear from the loot table, and clearing even higher tiers should increase not only the chance for tier 2 gear drops, but also include a percentage chance to get a world boss loot or a nebula loot.
I mean, I do agree. If the percentage of items, let's say just a basic example, if you do just a normal T1 dungeon, you have 10% chance to get T2 gear, And if you do a T2 dungeon, you have 15% chance. And that percentage just increases by the higher tier you do. I think it's a great idea because you spend more time doing the more challenging dungeon. So you should be rewarded for the time you spend by getting better rewards. And people have been complaining about not being able to drop T2 gear in T2 dungeons. And this would be actually a great fix for people to actually do harder dungeons. However, they should also let you use more currency. I don't want to be spending so much time doing the same dungeon over and over again. So I should be able to go inside the dungeon and spell double or triple or all of my currency by just opening the same chest, because at the same time it is bad for me opening the same chest because it's the same loot. Like, let's say I'm doing Gaitan, right? I'm doing Gaitan on T5. I do at the boss. I can only get that piece of items. So at the end of the day, I am wasting my currency, but at the same time, I'm getting some reward for it. It would be a good trade-off, in my opinion, that you should be able to use open all your currencies at once.
It's too late now for this anyways. Players who are still playing the game have all their gear. And with all this new supply of better gear, the prices on the market would collapse. But smart AGS already destroyed the market and reduced the prices of everything after the Loot Goblin event. So how much worse
Loot
could it
Goblin
actually
event.
get? AGS doesn't want you to get gear. They don't want you to improve your character, they want your money. That's why the tier 2 loot table and drop chances are the way they are, because AGS wants you to keep coming back every single day. You keep doing the same dungeons, killing the same mobs or burning tokens, just to get that one final gear drop that you need. But it never drops. That's how they keep you hooked, and that's how they keep the player retention, and I hope that after some time of getting tier 1 drops from a dungeon, you get frustrated enough to grab your credit card, charge up on Lucent, and straight up buy the gear you need from the auction house. And when you do that, they win and you lose.
I mean, this is also true. I mean, especially for casual players, it's the easy way to catch up, right? I've almost been there many times. The reason I've never changed builds, I wanted to change builds. I wanted to swap completely to a different build or play something else. But the reason I played with SNSGS for so long is because, as you guys know, I am free to play. I don't spend money in MMORPGs. I just refuse to. I think it's predatory. Like, buying the battle pass and buying the early access is fine. Anything else, I don't want to do it. I don't agree to it. But so many times that I've been like, oh, I really want to change it. Look, it's so cheap on the trading house. And if you don't have the willpower for it, you will end up spending $10 there, $20 here, and then AGS will be making money. I mean, this is what pay-to-win games do. That they claim they're not pay-to-win, and then they just milk you for money,
but luckily,
like
this predatory system has backfired on AGS many times already because the players aren't stupid. At the end of the day, we have come back full circle, where the only thing developers and publishers of these AAA games care is making as much money as possible, while
I mean, they have made a bunch of money, though. I mean, you can't say it didn't work. They definitely made a bunch of money. I've seen many players. However, where AGS got mad at is that players, instead of spending money in their game, went to a third-party website and spent money there. That's why they're so angry and mad. That's why they were banning and putting minus Lucent on so many players. And the reason they put minus Lucent, let's say I'm a whale, I get minus 10k Lucent, that means I have to spend $200 in the game to remove that minus Lucent, right? So at the end of the day, they're just doing everything they can to earn money, and if you don't spend it in game and do a third-party website, you get punished, because money is all that matters, right? As long as they are making money, they are happy. If they're using other type of exploits, they don't care. It can take 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months to fix. But if anything about their pockets and the way they make less money, it get fixed instantly. Like, you guys remember when I made the video of the duplicate boxes? You could duplicate items to sell for Lucent. Insta server maintenance. There was Cordy or Arc Boss exploit where you could dupe Arc Boss weapons. Insta maintenance. There was another new maintenance recently, or the necklace that came out, instant maintenance, because these items or these things makes AGS make less money, and that needs to be fixed instantly. If there's anything else, it takes time.
trying to keep the game alive.
Not only AGS, many like pay-to-win MMOs do stuff like this. If it's anything that can affect how much money they make, it's the insta fix, it's the insta punishment, it's the insta ban. Anything else, it doesn't matter.
Live.
And players like us, we pay attention to this. If I see that all they care, the only time they fix is when it's their money involved, I'm like, okay, this company is kind of scummy.
As long as possible to milk every last penny they can, all at the cost of players. PvP in any MMORPG is always a hit or miss. Throne Liberty has been marketed as this open world, massively large scale PvP game with thousands of players participating, but in reality it was a complete flop. Good balance of fun, engaging PvE, balanced PvP, and a non-static combat is a recipe for success. Throne Liberty completely missed the mark on all three of these. Started as a PvP focused game only to shortly pivot into PvE, which neglected PvP content and balance, while the PvE remained boring and repetitive.
I mean, this is to blame both AGS and the players. Well, AGS could have done a much better job, like remove, for example, alliances, make Siege better. I mean, the first Sieges were extremely fun. I had a blast in it. The PvP at the start was really fun too. And then guilds wanted better gear, so they started dodging each other, started dodging alliances, went to empty servers, started farming on empty servers. And AGS didn't do a better job either. They introduced this new guild boss, that PvP system that nobody does. They removed most of the big PvPs during the bosses and such. Sieges are 90% won by defenses. They haven't removed any alliances. So I think mainly it is AGS's fault for not catering to a better PvP system. But it's also the players' fault. But again, you can blame that on AGS too, making guilds and stuff change server to farm their bosses and stuff. They could have done better at like forcing them to match make, forcing them to be on the same servers, things like that. They could have made a couple of changes when it comes to Riftstone and Boonstones. I've talked about this. Make it so that you get a DK debuff when you get a Boonstone. That way, if there's a smaller guild, they can challenge you after like 2 weeks because you have a minus 20% attack or defense debuff, right? To make people do Riftstone and Boonstone, because nobody does it inside the game. But the war game system is really nice, though. I gotta give credit where you can give credit. The war game system is good. However, they should have had a matchmaking system, like a battlegrounds, like for example, New World has. Where you can matchmake into something instead of just arenas, like a large scale, because that's where Throne Liberty shines, is on large scale, not small scale. And then the balancing, class balancing, has been absolutely horrible. So there's definitely things where you can blame AGS for, probably like 70-80%, but players too.
Combat did receive some quality upgrades, but it's still very stale. It speaks a lot of volume once you realize that core PvP hasn't really changed since 2023. Balancing PvP requires a lot of time and resources to do right, but in turn, it isn't going to matter because there's no point focusing on the content that maybe 5% of the player base would enjoy. The majority of the players that keep MMORPGs alive are casual players who enjoy PvE, with occasional optional PvP. They are not competitive hardcore.
You always want to cater. I mean, even though I'm a hardcore player, I always say this in every MMO I play. You always want to cater to the casual players. If you're not catering to the casual players, you're not catering to the most of the player base that are keeping your game alive. At the end of the day, an MMO or open world game is about numbers and players. If you don't have the players, why are we saying Throne Liberty is dying? Yes, because it's losing players. Why is a game doing really good is because it has many players. So if you're not catering to the casuals, which is mostly 90% of your player count, you're gonna lose the majority of your population.
PvP players, and they will do everything to avoid it. Maybe if there were actual incentive to PvP, then maybe casual PvE players would be enticed to try it. Right now PvP is completely neglected. Hell, what am I saying? The whole game is neglected. When was the last time we got a proper class balance patch? I think when they nerfed the spear, still back in tier 1. The current 2-2-2 meta is boring, one-dimensional and requires no skill. Arena is heavily stacked and dominated by melee players with melee evasion. Castle Sieges and Tag Delivery event is still the same unbalanced PvP content that nobody cares about, and the Riftstone/Boonstone fights are non-existent because majority of the PvP guilds disbanded, so there's nobody to fight against. War games are the only real PvP content that players and guilds can enjoy nowadays, but this is only due to the tournament, after which it will put a final nail into the coffin.
I do think, I mean, if you guys watched the first rounds of EU, I'm probably going to cast some more. Casting the tournament has been fun, but there's many guilds that have disbanded while in the tournament. And I do think what he says is right. I am kind of afraid to see what's going to happen with Throne Liberty once the tournament is over. Are they going to be able to maintain their player base at the What's happening right now, I do think it might lose probably half of the current player base that it has left.
I do believe that the majority of PvP players will stop playing after the tournament, unless something gets announced. They even ruined the standard world bosses with the introduction of 3 portals, which again was heavily influenced by casual PvP players. But AGS still isn't reverting these changes, and the reason is simple: they do not care, nor did they ever care about PvP content and PvP players. There are so many things that they can do to make PvP balanced and fun for both PvE and PvP players. Wargames, for example, could have matchmaking, and after finishing you get a PvP token that you can exchange at merchants for materials and gear. 6v6 and 12v12 battlegrounds have been announced in Korea in June 2024, but that's nowhere near being released.
That is crazy. It's insane why you wouldn't add a background mode to this game. Like, the game is perfectly set up. It will take so little effort. Just make a map, and make a matchmaking system. You already have a matchmaking system. You already have the new war game modes, the team comp system too. Like, it's actually insane that they haven't introduced it.
Alliance zerging is still a huge problem in all types of open
Remove
world PvP
alliances. I've been
content.
saying this like 2 months into the game. I said remove alliances, and they still haven't. And now recently there was a siege, and 90% of the defenses won the siege. Like, how do you not see that statistic and be like, yo, we gotta do something?
Sieges, tax delivery, nebula, arc bosses, you name it. Speaking of nebula, while PvP is open there, nobody really even tries to fight another group of 6 players. Because
This is true. I mean, I did make a PP video against my old guild, and after I made the video, there was nowhere any players to be seen from that guild in Nebula. Everybody just dodges PP there. They need to make incentives. Nebula is a really cool system, really fun, but it's no incentive for people to actually go there and fight each other. You know, people just go there and try to farm a little bit, but
even if they do,
no-
it ends
no
up being
incentive.
a 10-minute back and forth where nobody's dying. So both groups agree to PvE farm in peace. And all of this bullshit stems from tanks and healers being too tanky and
And this too, remove alliances, and the Nebula PP bosses will become more fun. It'll be more of a, instead of a two-way fight against one alliance versus another, it'll be many different guilds fighting each other for the boss, and it's way easier to balance out guilds, because people will know, okay, this guild is the strongest. Then most people will try to focus them first and then fight each other after, right? So again, removing alliances will fix
killable. But you can't really
many
fix
of the
either.
issues. It won't
Not
fix
without
everything, but
breaking the
fix
game
many of the
completely
issues.
and making other classes weaker. All in all, the PvP will remain as it is, mainly as AGS can see the number of PvP players compared to the PvE players. So there really is no reason to try and waste time balancing classes for PvP, adding new forms of PvP content and improving the current ones. But since they do care about making money, and most money comes from hardcore PvP players, it doesn't make sense to completely neglect your biggest money makers. Another big problem is a complete and utter lack of communication, transparency and accountability from AGS. How long did it take for them to address the Dimensional Trial exploits? How long did it take to address the cheating? How long did it take to fix bugs? There are many ways they could have dealt with the game-breaking issues, like disabling the buggy weapon, exploitable mastery or dungeon until it's patched. Remember when there were issues with an auction house and a cash shop? It was immediately disabled and hotfixed
That's what I just said earlier. Again, when it comes to money,
within a few
insta
hours
fixed.
through emergency maintenance.
It just shows that they have, if they want to, they have the time, they have the knowledge to fix exploits. It's just laziness.
This tells you everything where their priorities lie. Thousands of players exploit trials for runes, that's okay, we just give them a 3-day ban and delete them from leaderboards. Cash shop not working, emergency 12-hour maintenance, all hands on deck. Massive drop in FPS performance and optimization across all specs, as well as constant server performance issues plagued with random disconnects, crashes, and most recently complete server crashes. The last siege, at least on my server in EU, has had a server just randomly go into maintenance mode, completely booting everyone out. After 5 minutes there was a login queue. Like what? A login queue for 500 people who still play the game on my server? On top of that, the siege was cancelled after the servers went up, Nobody was declared the winner, nobody got loosened pay.
We had this too, and they were like, instead of making a new siege, they were like, wait 2 more weeks and you'll get double rewards instead. I'm like, bro, I played this game that fun in the siege, not for the rewards. Nobody cares about the rewards anymore. Instead, give us another siege instead of letting us wait. Like, this makes also no
And
sense.
45 minutes of our lives were completely wasted. This isn't the first time it happened in recent times, but it just goes to show how bad Amazon servers actually are. Arc bosses, both Cordy and the Lulu, are just unplayable, where the main issue is that the players just don't render on your screen. Even with the highest character count option, you end up running into a blob of red enemies without even realizing anyone is there, because on your screen nobody is there. Understanding Amazon MO, with their sheer lack of transparency and accountability, they never even apologize, and compensation will always be Ornit coins that everyone can shove up their ass. In this part, I was going to talk about what can be done for Throne of Liberty to regain its popularity, bring back returning players and attract new players. But after finishing writing this script, I came to the conclusion that AGS as a game studio doesn't deserve any more success from Throne of Liberty. They don't deserve our money, even though they are trying their absolute best to milk as much money as they can.
Now, I do think it is savable, but it will require a lot. Now, the core things that I mentioned, I also made a how to fix Throne of Liberty video. The core things have to be fixed. The exploits have to be fixed. The bugs have to be fixed. The bouncing has to be done. The alliance have to be removed. But at the top of it, they need to make a new expansion, do really good marketing. But if they don't fix the core issues first, before they make a new expansion, it's nothing gonna happen with Throne of Liberty. So if they make the changes, if they fix the core problems, which is really hard, which I don't think they will ever do, and then make a proper expansion and update and make it casual friendly, so people can actually obtain gear and not only drop T1 items in the T3 expansion, I think it is savable. But will they do it? I don't think so.
Just look at the transmog system. Why couldn't have that been a free system where everyone can create their unique looking cosmetics? No, it had to cost losing. I can also see them finally going completely.
I mean, spending money for transmog and costumes is fine though. Like, if it was like you can only spend money on transmog and stuff, I'd be like, cool. But the problem with this game is you can spend money for transmog, but you can also buy arc bus weapons for thousands of dollars, right? You can also buy a lot of things to make new specs. And that's the problem. At the end of the day, if they just had that you can spend money for transmog and costumes and bout passes, it would be completely fine. But they want to charge you for absolutely everything in the game, even though they said at the start of the game that the game will be very free to play friendly. I called it and everybody was like, no, Spid, it is pay to progress. It's pay to fast, not pay to win. It's the same thing, guys. It's the same thing.
Rogue and releasing the Blessing of Solesium, the monthly subscription-based premium that can only be purchased with real money, not loosened. With their incompetence, they have managed to completely destroy 3 very promising MMORPGs, on top of their own flops that they have developed and had to shut down due to how bad it actually was. New World suffered and is still suffering the exact same fate. Lost Ark was a game that I have waited to play.
New World is so sad. I love New World. It's one of my favorite MMOs of all time. It was so good. It was so new, innovative. Everything was amazing except AGS. Just completely ruined such a phenomenal game. People, the community tried to keep it alive as long as we could, but again, like I said, AGS are really good at launching and marketing a game. They're not really good at, I mean, even though NCSoft is developing, they're not really good at maintaining MMORPGs. They don't know, once they have launched a game or they launched an expansion, they don't know what to do after that. It's just that's it. That's where they stop.
Version for years, but it also suffered the same incompetent fate. And now we are all here gathered to press F and pay our final respects to Throne of Liberty, which didn't even last a year on a global market. There's no point trying to give feedback on how to improve the game and change, because a lot of major systems need complete overhaul, and I'm pretty sure NCSoft has given up on any major content development and are only focusing on their future money-making games. At best, they will release the 12-man raids, which is going to be super easy, filled with bugs, exploits, and unbalanced rewards.
They're gonna exploit the road to first, world first on the new raids.
This will add a new gear progression tier, and everyone is back to square one with
Yeah,
grinding,
and they're adding legendary gear too. Oh, it's gonna be so pay to
spending
win.
money in an infinite boring gameplay loop until they finally come to realize that it is not worth it. There will likely be release of 2 new weapons, Orb and Gauntlet, which were leaked already, but chances are both of them will be very broken, buggy, exploitable, and it will give birth to even more oppressive and broken builds, while the current ones will fall into obscurity. There are still bugs and issues present with the current
New Void Gauntlet meta, guys, is coming. I'm telling you, Gauntlet and Void Gauntlet meta. Always buff and make the new weapons extremely strong. I mean, every MMO does that, though.
weapons, so I can't even imagine the shit show new
it's gonna
weapons will
happen.
bring. The upcoming
And then you have to spend thousands of dollars to re-roll to the new weapon.
emergency Korean developer livestream Q&A session is what's going to decide the fate of Throne of Liberty. Even the livestream is called Cheer Up Throne of Liberty. Like, are they seriously taking the piss right now? If they don't address all the issues with solutions that will come very soon, and if they don't announce new content, it's pretty much GG. I can already see their common response being, we are aware and we are working on improving it. All in all, seeing doom and gloom on Reddit, major guilds and alliances disbanding and quitting in every region, and the only thing that is still keeping some of the hardcore PvP players playing and logging in every day is the Blue Squadron tournament. After the tournament, a lot of the guilds and players have already announced they will be quitting. I can already see the tournament will be filled with drama, cheating accusations that will turn into a major shitshow.
No cheating accusations so far. It's been good. Tournament has been good so far, except that people are disbanding mid-tournament.
But all the drama is where the good content is, so bring it on. So what should you do
True. And you know who milks the drama the most? This guy right here, this guy.
if you're still playing? I'm not here to tell you to quit. If you're genuinely still enjoying your time and the game, more power to you. Games are meant to be fun and your entertainment is valid. But if you're playing out of habit or hopes that things will improve, it might be time for an honest assessment. Just ask yourself, am I having fun or am I just going through the motions? If you're sticking around for your guild or friends, consider bringing that community to a different game. The relationships you've built are valuable and can thrive elsewhere. And if you're passionate about seeing change, be loud about it but in a constructive way. Leave feedback and hold AGS accountable by voting with your wallet. Because that's the only way they're gonna listen. The MMORPG genre desperately needs innovation and quality.
Don't spend money on MMOs, guys. I've been telling you. I mean, except battle passes, early accesses. I don't think people should spend money like on these predatory games. It's horrible.
By demanding better, we collectively raise the standards for future games. But let me be transparent with you, making this video wasn't easy. I've invested thousands of hours into Throne of Liberty. I've made friends, created memories, and had genuine moments of joy. Criticizing something you care about is always difficult, but that's precisely why this conversation matters. We deserve better, the MMORPG community deserves better, and until we collectively raise our standards, publishers will continue to serve as bad products. If you've made it to the end of this video, you're clearly passionate about the future of MMORPGs and Throne of Liberty. So please, share your thoughts.
I mean, this is a good video from Freshie. I mean, I do agree with most of his takes and points. Do I think Throne of Liberty can still survive? I would say I'm more optimistic than he is. I do think there is a way that Throne of Liberty will survive if the developers care and they put in the effort. Now, do I think they will do that? I don't think so. But I do think if developers put in the effort, fix the core problems of the game, launch a new expansion, do proper marketing, and actually care about the game, I do think it has a place in the MMO market and it will have a healthy player count for a long time. But if they don't do it, the game is doomed to fail. I hope Throne of Liberty does good. I would love to come back and play this game for a new expansion or whatever. So let me know what you guys think. Are you guys still playing? Will you guys play? Will you guys come back if they do fix these issues and launch a proper expansion? Let me know in the comments. Check this video right here, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.